Webb,
Present.
Nash,
Present.
Bush,
Here.
Ahmad,
Present.
Helpap,
Here.
Gale, excused. We have a quorum.
Yep.
The first item of the agenda is approval of the minutes from June
Right.
3rd.
I'll start, I would like to welcome
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
the people present to the monthly meeting of the Board of Appeals on zoning. We have two matters before us this evening, which are requests for variances. And I'd ask simply that if you want to speak on these matters, you approach the podium, give your name to the clerk, and make your presentation to the board. I don't want to interfere with your talk, but brevity is appreciated always. And I'd ask that you direct your comments to the board and not to each other, and if there's some disagreement over either one or both of these matters. Just address the board, not each other, and we'll make the decision. Thank you.
First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from June 3rd.
I make the motion minutes be accepted as written.
Right.
Support.
I think the record should show we've all received copies.
Yes.
And any discussion on the motion? Right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved.
Next case on the agenda is case number 15-0082. Allow a variance for an 8x16 carport within the 2-foot side yard setback area is specified in section 153.060 parent C. I want to add one other thing to this that I guess I overlooked as I was writing this. Along with the 2-foot setback for the accessory building, that applies if it's in the backyard. In the side yard, there's also, the two side yards have to equal at least 14 feet. The side yard on the other side of the property is about 6 feet, which means that this side yard would have to be 8 feet. So if you decide to give a variance, it's not only for the 2-foot accessory building setback, it's for the setback for the side yard as well.
All right. Is there somebody here for this matter? Hello.
My name's Dawn Williams, and I live at 2510 Blake Street. And I'm asking for 8x16 prefab carport to be placed to cover up my car because there is a pine tree that sits in the neighbor's yard that flows way over my driveway that saps on my car. And also her property elevates above my driveway. So I'm asking to put 1-foot pavers along my driveway, so in the spring, when it's really muddy, I've asked her to put stone in there, and she says it decreases the value of her property. But again, when I get out of my car, it is a complete mud hole. So I want to put 1-foot pavers along my driveway, so it decreases that muddiness. And then I also want to put the 8x16 carport to cover my cars because of the pine tree, the sap of the pine tree.
Any question?
This question for staff. The pavers don't really have anything to bearing on this, right? It's basically the carport. Once she says that, you can do anything you want.
Right, the pavers, she has the right to put them down.
Yeah, we don't have to approve or disapprove that.
Okay, well, the neighbor has issues with that, and the neighbor is behind me, so I just wanted to make that very clear that it's okay to do that.
Well,
We're just looking at the carport
Okay.
yes,
issues.
the other part.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You have a hardship. You consider this a hardship. You don't have too much room,
No.
so
There's not an attached garage, there's not a garage with this house, is there?
No, there's not.
Nothing.
you're kind of landlocked.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you put a car and put in the humidity in the air, you think it's gonna cover a good portion of the sap, or
Yes, it will cover a full, a length of either one of my cars. The one I store in the winter, so the one that I have, either or, being it spring, summer, winter, it's gonna protect the car from the sap, and the sap damages my paint.
and you have nowhere else to put them?
No, I don't.
What about your backyard?
Well, you're looking at a lot more money than I would rather sink in. I'm trying to do this the cheapest way possible.
All right, I'm just, you're aware there's an objection to this, right?
Right.
All right, and among other things, the person objecting suggests that this could go in the backyard.
Well, if she's gonna pay for it, I'd love for it to go in the
All right,
backyard.
Okay.
So the objection is there's not enough footage?
That's what you get in the zoning variance.
Well, from what I understood, I was only lacking a foot. And the carport will be totally on my cemented driveway.
But he said there's a setback too.
Yeah, there is a side yard setback that, when I wrote this, I wasn't totally aware of it, right? Just didn't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's actually 8 more feet that is needed. So if they grant a variance, it would be not only for the 1 foot, but for the 8-foot side yard setback as well.
So going beyond the driveway, it has to be more footage, correct?
Yes, if you put it in the backyard,
Uh-huh.
you could be 2 feet from the property line, but because you're in the side yard, you need the 9 feet, or the 8 additional feet.
So I need 8 additional feet instead of 2.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
You
So,
consider this a hardship where you have no place to go? I mean, you're kind of locked in there.
yeah, I
Been a
am.
hardship to you?
Well, when you have 2 vehicles and you have nowhere to park and you got a pine tree that saps horribly on your vehicles, and it doesn't matter whether it's in the driveway or the backyard, it's still gonna get sapped on.
Any other questions?
Even if you put it in the back, I don't think it'd be feasible.
I just have to look at a different actual carport is what I would have to do. It would probably be the same length and width,
Yeah,
but
so
instead of
you-
attaching it to the home, I would have to go a different route.
And you want to put gravel down to absorb the water that you
I
said-
would probably put a cement slab.
What did the one complaint say? How many complaints you get?
That was the only complaint. I had a few other calls just asking about it. And when they
Like
found
what?
out that it didn't pertain to their property, they said that's all I wanted to know. So there was only the one
I
complaint.
think she's kind of landlocked in there, and, with nowhere to go, not too many options. And, she's gonna have a setback anyway, problem.
Questions?
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you. Is there someone else here to speak to this?
No, there's not. So I would have to go in the backyard rather than,
No,
what
we
happens?
haven't made our decision
Or
yet.
you just,
Or
I'm
I
asking
could,
if there's anybody else here.
no,
audience.
there's not, but I have one more question. Instead of putting one that's attached to the home that stands there alone, I could do the one that expands, that you attach to the home but expand it out as needed instead of leaving it there 24/7. Do you follow me?
yeah, well,
Okay.
we have to get to that point yet. We have to see if there's anybody else that's going to
Okay,
speak to this.
thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, my name is Shelley Wirt. I own the property at 2512 Blake Street.
Could you speak up?
We can't hear you.
I own the property next door to Miss Williams at 2512 Blake
All
Street.
right.
Okay. I did hear your comments that you've already discussed that it is landlocked. You already
Can you
did.
speak a little slower and a little louder because it's kind of coming muffled?
I'm sorry, can I turn this down towards me a little bit more?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
I guess you guys, the board here has already brought out a lot of my concerns already with the accessory buildings and the minimum setbacks for the lot, because that was my concern as well, because when I was reading the information here, it said that when it's attached, it becomes part of the dwelling. And overall, the lot there is 40 feet. I looked up on the website, Saginaw City, her house is 28 feet, which only leaves about 12 feet setback total. To attach a carport on the side of the house would take another 8 feet away from that, leaving a total setback for that property at like 4 feet. That was my concern with the ordinance, but as far as the property situation there, I have no problems with her trimming away the tree in her airspace. She's more than welcome to do that. As far as putting it along the side of the house, I can just see a number of items of issue with that because she does have a door on the side of her house that limits her parking alongside of her house there already. So that keeps her from parking that 2 to 3 feet of door opening space to park up alongside of her house, for her driveway there isn't completely usable. Now, she does have the rest of her driveway to park her 2 vehicles, or the option of conforming to the rest of the neighborhood. Most of the houses that have the interior single lots there, they do have the garages behind the home. And to protect
What's your
vehicles
main
that are,
objection?
I'm sorry?
What's your main objection?
To have it running 16 feet down the side of the house, only 1 foot from the property line. I feel that she would have difficulty just maintaining it. Overall, there could be issues with it that have to be repaired. She'd be over there, and I actually prefer to put plants on my property there. I would really like to landscape it with plants and flowers.
But if you put a privacy fence the whole length, then it'd be the same thing.
Actually, I would like to do that, and I'm actually checking into that.
Because that's possibly the landscaping wouldn't be an issue.
Okay. Well, I actually have been considering doing a fence there. I did have some concerns because the gas and electrical lines that were there, but I have been recently checking into it again. So I thank you for your time. I do agree with a lot of the comments and questions that you were asking there about the total setback for the lot there. And I'm also concerned that with having that so close to my property, when I do go to sell that property, it's really, really close there.
It's
And-
close, but she's trying to accommodate being neighborly, where she's having the water to run off differently than what it would run off. And she's doing the best she can because she's kind of like locked in there. And if you notice, you can look at this picture here, where her car's parked
Mm-hmm,
by the door.
yes.
You can open it and get out and go into the house without, no problem there.
Well, I do understand that, yes, and I appreciate that. However, up in front of her house, there's also a foot extra driveway that she could still put two vehicles in her driveway and not park right on the property line. Pretty much where the large fence line is that runs between the two properties in the backyard, that is the property line.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue other than the two people who have already spoken? All right. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve case number 150082, variance.
Support?
I'll second it.
Discussion.
Staff question. In this situation, if she just had a carport that was not attached to the house, would it make a difference?
If it was not attached to the house, it'd have to be 7 feet away from the house.
7 feet away. And were notices sent out for 300 feet away?
Yes, they were.
And you only had one letter back, one call?
One letter and I think there were 2 calls.
Approximately how many people were contacted?
There were quite a few in this area because of the small size of the lots.
Yeah.
I assume you mean 10 or under, 20 or under,
What's that?
under 10 or under 20 or 50?
There were at least 70 that went out. There
Okay.
could be, if the property owner didn't live at the house, but there was an occupant, it could be even more than that, but
Okay.
at least 70.
Any other discussion on the motion? Hmm?
Four.
How many votes they need for this to pass? They don't know how many they need. The audience doesn't know how many votes they need for this to pass.
Four.
We need 4,
No,
yeah.
but they don't know. Did you say that?
Huh?
Did you say that at the beginning of the meeting?
Did I say it? No, I didn't. But that's the way it is. Well, there being no other discussion, the chair is going to call for a vote. In case number 15-0082, it's been moved and supported that the request for a variance at 2510 Blake for construction of the carport beside the house be granted. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? One? All right. The motion's
Yeah.
carried, 4-1. And the variance is granted.
You might want to call the roll on that case's question.
Pardon?
Roll call.
Call the roll. On the vote,
Yeah.
the case's
Well,
question.
I got it.
But in case it comes up as a question, then we have to vote, yeah.
I can list it in the minutes
Okay.
that way. Usually I don't, but in this case I will.
All right.
All right.
Next case on the agenda is 15-0083. This is a request for a variance for a gravel parking lot for a commercial use. The ordinance states that for a commercial use, that a parking lot be either paved with asphalt or cement and be striped. In this case, she's asking for a gravel parking lot because of a special situation, and I'll let the appellant state the reasons.
All right.
Good afternoon. My name is April Williams. I am here today about my property at Florence Street Hall. My reason is, as Mr. Foss has stated, that I can only gravel. That's all they will let me do. CSX, I don't have enough parking. It's shared parking, and I had talked to the company, and that's adjoining with my property, and they refused to let me do it. So I had to get in touch with the CSX Transportation, and that's directly across the street from my building, to see, and they do lease land. I finally got in touch with them after maybe 6 or 7 months. So I'm trying to see, the only thing they will let me do is gravel. They don't want any permanent things done to their land, and that's the only thing that I can do is gravel.
Questions?
Only question, when you bought your property, did the previous owner explain the situation with the parking?
No, he didn't. This is like a big thing for me. From what I would like to say is from where I came from in my life, a big achievement. And the only thing that I was really thinking about was the taxes. Like, okay, let me check the taxes and see, because, I mean, this can't be happening to me from, if you know my past history. This is like the biggest. I'm helping me, I can help other people. I speak for a group of women called Moving Forward, and they pay at the Anderson to do meetings. So that's my group. Well, it's not my group. Dr. Connick runs it, but I'm like, I can have them there, and they don't have to pay anything. It's women moving forward from their past history, from being using drugs, from, I'm gonna say me, retail fraud, just anything, and they think that they cannot move forward in their life. So it's like a support group, and I would just love to have them there to help out with that, with Dr. Connick for costs, because we put in for food and have to pay the hall, but this is like a big achievement for me, and I just thought I was past it. Once I thought about the taxes, I went to the fire marshal, I did everything else that I thought. And I'm thinking like, okay, this building that's connected to mine, we have an adjoining driveway. So, and they're no longer even there. Their business is gone, but I still had to go to them, as Mr. Foss asked me to, and I typed out something, and they said, no. So I said, okay, well, let me see what else, and I had kept trying to get in touch with to find out about the property, and it took like 6 to 7 months for, the railroad to get back with me, and this is all they will let me do.
Mike, how many parking places does she need for her lot?
If I remember correctly, I think your occupancy was about 90 to 100 people, somewhere in that range.
Yes, it was.
And I think I calculated out that she'd need approximately 60 parking places.
And how many does that facilitate now?
Right now, I think you could fit maybe 6 cars back behind.
Yes.
Okay.
And if I would've known that, I would've did that beforehand, but I wasn't thinking, I'm just thinking I'm doing something and I'm making and that ain't what happened. I ended up getting a partner and I owed them because I haven't been open, I've been shut down. I did everything before I opened. I called the fire department, had it inspected, had my doors, had my emergency signs put in, everything. I came here and got a business license just to say that I couldn't open.
And they
Any other
won't, they
questions?
won't lease to you, or they won't let you buy the property?
No, they don't. I have here a lease agreement that she sent me. That's the only thing that I can do until I'm there. Well, until I decide to leave or sell,
I
then,
mean, the people who, you would thought the parking came with the hall, or,
no,
okay.
no.
Any other questions? We have a motion.
I move that we approve case 15-0083.
Support?
Support.
Any discussion on the motion?
I would just say as long as all the paperwork is fine with the city, as far as CXS and the rental agreement, after, yeah.
Any
Yeah,
other-
once the lease is signed, I'll need a copy of that.
Any other discussion on the motion? All right, then Chair will call for a vote on case number 15-0083, the request to allow a gravel parking lot for commercial use at 137 Florence Street in Saginaw. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
April, move around a little. There you go.
Okay.
No opposition?
No.
The motion's carried and the variance is granted.
Thank you.
That's the luck.
Public comment is the next item on the agenda.
Old business.
Oh, old business. I don't
Old
believe we
business,
have
public
any.
comment. And,
Under
adjournment.
public comment, I'd just like to tell you, we've had a resignation on the zoning board. Chuck Sproul moved out of the city and had to resign. We accepted that with regret, but he did have to leave. I'm going to ask council to appoint our alternate, Dave Helpap,
Right.
as a regular member. And then if you know anyone else that would like to be on the zoning board, make sure that they get their application into the clerk's office.
What about the, training? Did you go to that training? You just go,
I did not, Ernie's gone to the
how was it?
It was pretty good. It showed a lot of things as far as the zoning board, how basically we actually supposed to follow the request that we get. And that's for legal purposes. It talks about a lot of things, that things can come back on how we're doing things. It's not necessarily according to the ordinances. And it can come back to 100%.
according to the state statute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you take that, Trey?
I'm not present. I just finished the Saturday.
Did they have any pamphlets or booklets or anything they?
There was one that I'm taking a look at right now. Jim Doan, the chairman from the planning commission, brought it in to me. It's a handbook, and I'm gonna review that, and if I think that it's helpful, we may order one for each board member.
Okay,
I just haven't had a chance to look at it yet.
and they haven't changed any ordinances lately,
No, the laws haven't changed much.
in the city.
Oh, in the city, not ordinance-wise, no.
Or a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Support?
For
All in favor?